This is Miller Philosopher. The Silmarils are famous for being the last remnants of the ancient light of the Two Trees of Valinor, a power so old that it predates the coming of the races of Middle-earth. And even though the source of that light was destroyed, what remained was inside those jewels and was potent enough to ignite two very eerily similar tragedies, separated by centuries but at the same time echoing each other like some kind of curse. And today I want to dive into how those stories mirror each other and what they say about the Silmarils themselves, as well as what Tolkien meant by it. The first tragedy, Fëanor, the exile and doom of the Noldor, happened while Fëanor was in exile, where he guarded the Silmarils obsessively, denying their sight to the Eldar and the Valar, after his judgment was initially pronounced for almost attacking his brother. Everyone was essentially stunned that somehow this elf lord had somehow managed to capture the majesty of the primordial divine, and even though the Silmarils were held only a portion of that power, it was still enough to give them a kind of quasi-sentience, almost like the One Ring ages later. And like everyone else in Valinor, Morgoth had also been enthralled by Fëanor's masterpiece. Yet, unlike everyone else, it magnified his envy and his hatred. So he and Nauglamír forced themselves on Fëanor, killed his father Finwë, and stole the Silmarils. When Fëanor returned, he found his father dead and his life work stolen, and he basically snapped and lost his shit. He renamed Morgoth, swore the oath, ignited the first kinslaying, and dragged the Noldor, as well as other races of Middle-earth, into a war that few of them would survive to see the quest completed. But through his last two sons, Maedhros and Nauglamír, it was completed, and they did finally reclaim the Silmarils. However, they were then similarly rejected by them, and left the two characters in despair. And, as I said, this wasn't the only time the Silmarils inspired such a disaster. During the same first stage, one Silmaril came into the hands of Thingol, the High King of the Sindar, and it had been won through immense sacrifice and harm, yet still held that ancient power of before the Elder Days, an era where time was a new thing to primordial antiquity. Thingol became so inspired by this that he wanted to fuse the greatest works of elves and dwarves into one object. Thus, he hired smiths from Norgrod to craft the Nauglamír, the single greatest object in all of Beleriand, and its beauty was said to be so immense and so great that it didn't belong in mortal lands. But this inspiration turned into obsession. Thingol's pride clashed with dwarven greed, and when the Nauglamír was finished, Thingol took it up, and supposedly he looked like one of the spirits of Valinor. And it is at this time that the dwarves now called in their favor, demanding the jewel as their own. However, Thingol, being Thingol, insults them and tries to banish them from Menegroth. But it's never a good idea to piss off a dwarf, even the greedy ones. Thingol gets jumped and killed. The dwarves flee Menegroth with Nauglamír, and the Sindar pursue them with a fury and reclaim the obsession that their king was killed for. But there were still survivors, and those dwarven survivors tell a twisted version of that tale when they get back to Norgrod. The dwarves of Norgrod thus retaliate with an army, sack Menegroth after a bloody battle, and reclaim the Nauglamír, only to be then ambushed by Beren, Fëanor, and a bunch of green elves, and even a contingent of Ents, with the army being annihilated and their king killed by Beren, but not before same king cursed the same treasure of Doriath. Thus, Beren wisely abandons the ancient wealth in the river, all except the Nauglamír. So these similarities popped out to me while listening to the Silmarillion again on audio, and they were very uncanny. A Silmaril, or something bound to it, is created. Its beauty inspires all who sees them to extreme awe or extreme obsession. Oaths are sworn, vicious battles follow, and the jewel changes hands through multiple owners. And even the roles are kind of echo each other in some kind of way, while still retaining certain differences. Thingol became a kind of feanor light, if you will, driven by inspiration that turns into a blinding pride that results in his death. The dwarves, as well as Thingol himself as well, mirror Morgoth and the Noldor at Alqualande, killing their allies in their lust for that same jewel. And in both stories, the Silmarils' journeys finally ends with the bodies that seem to follow finally coming to a stop. It makes you wonder if Tolkien had deliberately mirrored these two tales, because both of them seem to suggest the same theme. When I tried to research this, I couldn't really find anything though. But to me, that same theme seemed to be that the power of the Silmarils was never meant for the world, including Valinor. Yet, at the same time, they were also the engine that drove that same world's evolution forward. In Valinor, the captured essences inspired extremes of beauty, stagnation, and envy. And in Middle-earth, it accelerated mortality of the world and the people around it to create a kind of holy beauty that lasted for far too short a time. And, like Morgoth, also too often seemed to inspire the darker natures of some of those people that they already had in the first place. Lúthien's and later Dior's realms even echoed the immortal lands of the West while they held the Silmaril, and both of those came to a short and untimely end. So no, I don't think it was a coincidence that these two tragedies, though separated by centuries, happened to mirror each other so closely. The Silmarils do not just shine, they provoke. They provoke the shaping of the world around them. More than that, they were a window into what lay beyond the circles of the world. Its mystery and power that anyone within those circles barely understood, if even aware of it. And this includes even the Valar themselves, while they remained within the circles of the world. The making of the Silmarils is a paradox, a window to a view that should have never been opened, and at the same time moving Middle-earth forward to evolve and grow as well, for both good and ill.